people will not follow us home. We need to get out of there. We need to have a United Nations peacekeeping force to go in and take our place. But there's no need of fighting over this oil and land. There's plenty to go around this world. And I beg you to take a look at my website. There's an article in there about addicted to war. We've got troops all over the world. And I'm one of them for many years. Thank you.
Mr. Murray, the question was an impact on tourism in our area and what we do to increase safety, decrease concerns.
Thanks. As someone who's been involved in the war on terror, let me just tell you the best defense is always a good offense. If you deny terrorists safe havens from which to plan operations and operate, that is the best thing we can do. Would a terrorist attack here hinder tourists? Probably for the short term. But what we need to do is continue to pursue an aggressive agenda in Afghanistan. If we're going to be there, I agree with President Obama when he said, let's send more troops to Afghanistan. I disagree when he said, if we don't like the way things are going, we're going to leave at halftime. We either get in there or we don't get in there. So I also disagree very much with Congressman Moran, who believes that we should try terrorists in civilian courts, especially in Alexandria. We've been there and we've done that, and that is a mistake. We have military tribunals, and that's where enemy combatants should be prosecuted. Thank you.
Time for rebuttals. Mr. Berry, something you didn't like or something you heard that cued a thought there?
I fundamentally reject Mr. Fisher's argument that we're attacked because we have troops in the Middle East. Jeane Kirkpatrick gave a speech at the 1984 Republican Convention talking about the Blame America First crowd. And this is exactly the type of speech that she was talking about. If we would do troops in the Mideast, the idea that the terrorists will leave us alone, I think, is not correct. America is a force for good in the world, promoting liberty and democracy and the security of our allies. I would not withdraw from the Middle East, and I think the idea that we're responsible for the attacks upon us is just fundamentally wrong.
Mr. Fisher, he certainly disagrees with your thoughts. Yours?
A couple of things. One, the war on terror is a misnomer. Wars are between countries. We can't have a war on terror. And the planning for the war, for the attack on us was done in Europe and the United States, in caves in Afghanistan maybe, but it was mainly done in Europe. And terror should be treated as crimes. The military tribunals for treating people are absolutely unconstitutional. You have to give people their rights. That's the Constitution. Anybody under our jurisdiction has that. So we have to follow the law. And thank you.
Mr. Murray, 30 seconds, please.
The Constitution gives rights to American citizens. If you're enemy combatant, it's a little different. Imagine a world without the United States of America in it. Imagine a world in which the force for good that we are, is not out there. And when people tell us that we're being attacked because of what we did, I fundamentally disagree with that, because we are a force for good in the world, and we'll continue to be that. I've seen it over a decade deployed overseas, and we'll continue to be that.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. We're moving on to the second question here. We're going to begin with you, Mr. Fisher. The question is, what will you be able to accomplish from a federal level to help with Virginia's transportation funding crisis? Please address funding for things like transit highways, BRAC improvements, or possibly hop lanes. Your thoughts?
We absolutely need a central plan on this. We need a massive amount of rail, light rail, the Gulf of Mexico incident, things going on. We have to get organized on it. Chinese we spent $1 million on rail last year. The Chinese spent $90 billion. They're building miles and miles of rail. We need light rail in the cities, connecting with hybrid buses, integrated plans. And the federal government needs to play a major role in this. And the money is there. We've given the banks $23.7 trillion. We need to recoup that money and put it, and plus we can put a lot of people to work. There's many areas like this, but transportation, my party, the Independent Green Party, is Bill for rail, will be here a little bit later. We are really pushing for rail and an organized approach to it. Now I have a website on wethepeoplenow.org, and in there is, I hope everybody will use this as a platform, but there's a section on transportation and transit
Mr. Murray, the same question to you regarding transportation.
Great example of government closest to the people governs best. You know, whenever the federal government gets involved in a transportation issues, particularly in Virginia or anywhere else, the costs go up 30%, and you can just stretch that timeline out to the right for years and years and years. So you can do studies and regulations and more studies and more regulations. What I'd like to see is federal gas tax money come right back down to Virginia and let Virginia take care of these things on their own, and you will see things happen a lot faster and a lot more efficiently and a lot quicker. Really fast, though, one thing that the federal government could do, Frank Wolf, 10th District, has enacted some telework legislation. It is terrific. It keeps cars off the roads at the most important times. The problem is that a lot of the departments are not adhering to those regulations. So what I would do with Congressman Wolf in the 10th District is to try to work a way so that we can hold the department's feet to the fire so that they enact telework like they should.
4 specifics. First, I would work with Governor McDonald to secure funding for widening I-66. Number 2, we need to promote more public-private partnerships. We need to do the HOT lanes on I-395, and I think Arlington County's lawsuit against that project is disgraceful. Third, we need to have a public-private partnership and build a tollway from Reston to Rockville. Take the people who are coming down to go over the Beltway, to have a northern river crossing there, and we can do it through a tollway with private money. And fourth, a very important component of this is fundamentally reforming the metro system. Does Metro need more money? Yes. But the governance system of Metro has completely failed. We have people on that board that are moonlighting as Metro Board of Directors. Their second public service priority is Metro, not the first. They're not regular riders of the system. I would completely and fundamentally overhaul the Metro transportation structure. The Washington Post largely endorsed the plans that I presented a couple months ago because mass transit is important along with road transportation.
Metro is just today, I believe, considering discussions for another rate hike during peak hours.
Absolutely.
Mr. Fisher, let's begin with you for 30-second rebuttals.
I'm tired of hearing that the government can't do things. The Army, of course, has privatized backwater, Sugar, I won't say the word, but and also they privatized all their feeding the troops and everything with Halliburton. Billions and billions. And that's the expense of privatization. There's going to be money that those people, when they invest it, they expect to get the money back. So, and the interstate highway system built by was it Eisenhower or whoever was fantastic. We can do these things. The government can do them.
Mr. Murray.
Feds finished building the interstate highway system in the 80s. And so it's time to put this back down to the states where it belongs. And with regard to Metro, yeah, I just saw that too. They're gonna hike rates again. I think that we need to look at a fundamental reorganization of their board of directors and their leadership. You can ride a subway in New York or a bus in Chicago for a fraction of what we do here in Washington, D.C., in the capital of the United States of America.
Mr. Berg.
2 more things that I think we need to seriously look at. The first is that most people in commuting will commute within 5 miles of where they work. And unfortunately, with respect to bike commuting, we do not have a good system now for having safe bike lanes for people who want to commute from one place to another. We can take people off the roads and have some of them use bikes, and I think that's something that sustainable development planning should be part of any integrated transportation strategy.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Our third topic for our questions this evening deals with something that was perhaps, some say, put on the back burner. Now that health care reform is complete to some degree. Financial reform is next. And we're putting a lot of focus on that right now as everyone tries to figure out what derivatives mean. But the question for you specifically is, what is your opinion of the financial reform bill? And in particular, what do you think it will do for business and banking here? Not only just across the country, but here in our area as well. We're going to begin with Mr. Murray on this one.
Well, I don't know how you have financial reform like we have in the Senate bill right now without including the 2 800-pound gorillas, which is Freddie Mac and Fannie Mae.